in the season, we should have been undefeated. We believed that in our heart, we set that as a goal. We fell short of that. But I'm going to tell you what, one of the games we fell short by was driving all the way up to Smyrna and getting robbed by 3 referees standing on the middle of the football field. And I don't like to make excuses, but that was a proven fact when you went to that state championship game. We lost the game up there 14-0 on 2 fluke calls that should have never even happened. And the only thing we could tell these guys was buckle down, get to the show, and prove everybody wrong that says you deserve to lose that game. And nothing could have been sweeter than to play that same Smyrna team in that championship. And I don't know how many of you people sitting in this gym were at that game, but we kicked off to Smyrna. They crossed the 50-yard line on the first possession and never went back and crossed it on offense the rest of the game. They came down here and got themselves a good old Sussex County beat down by our guys. And we walked into that field battle and there was 31 of us that knew what was going to happen. The rest of them were just guessing. But we knew in our heart what the outcome of that game was going to be. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've never been so proud in a group of guys in my life. I treat them all like family. I've done that with every team I've ever coached. But these guys right here, you have a special spot in my heart. My wife went to every game this year. My mother-in-law came to the Norfolk playoff game and the championship game. And when she told me that was the best group she's ever seen me with, it touched my heart. When your mother-in-law can stand there and stand behind something that you do, something you believe in, something you appreciate, and you got the support of the loving family, what can stop you? Like Ray Lewis says, if Jesus is with you, who can be against you? Past couple of years I've been blessed to have a great group of guys calling shots on the sidelines with me, for me. When I'm not there, they got it covered. Every member of my coaching staff could be a head coach anywhere you turn. And the great thing about these guys, I said it last year, I got a unique bunch because my guys give up their time with no kids on the team. None of us have a kid on our football team. A couple of them have cheerleaders in the program like myself. But football is in your blood, it's in your heart, and that's what makes you champion. Coaches that'll stand behind you, go to war with you, do what's got to be done. At this time, I'd like to call my coaches up one by one, give them their gratitude as well. John Stevenson. Woo! Billy Jackson, big fella. Coach Ryback, Mark Wilson.
He loves that.
First season on the staff, legitimately last year, he helped out, got his feet wet, see if he liked it or not. My nephew, Mike Barry. Last but not least, this man used to beat me up from the time I was his size till probably last week. My big brother, a.k.a. Dr. Phil, Coach Greg Tucker. Tell me the truth, does he look like Dr. Phil or not? Have you read his books? I seen and lost my list. I got my wife to help me separate my book, my jackets, and I put it down where I didn't know where it was at. There we go. I know all these guys, just to make sure I get everybody just the way it should be. I I'll go off my paper. We'll start off with big sexy Cody Agresta. You guys notice, along with a trophy this year, these gentlemen are going to receive a state championship jacket. Well deserved, wear with pride, fellas. Coach Stevenson still wears his from 1999. Such a central pride runs deep. This next gentleman, golden leg, Kyle Agresta. This man come on the sideline a couple times in the championship game holding his head down. We had a couple close calls on a field goal and on an extra point. And he told me, he said, Coach, I'm sorry. And I looked right in his face and I told him, if it wasn't for you, son, we wouldn't be in this game. He kicked 2 extra points in the game against Milford, which is worth 4 points in the game. We won that game by 3 points. If he doesn't make those kicks, we're going home early. So no apology necessary. Next man's one of the fastest guys in this league, bar none. Speedy Parrish Alexander. Like the hair, baby, like the hair. Next man coming out, I'm gonna tell you right now, this guy right here took one of the hardest shots in practice on a hitting drill that I've ever seen. Matter of fact, he took a lot of them, but he got up after every one. But this particular one was delivered by Carlos Serrano. And when I looked over after blowing my whistle, Chase went to his left and picked up one earpiece. He went to his right and he picked up the second earpiece. And he put them back inside the helmet, strapped up, got back in line, said, I'm ready to go, Coach. Chase Bannon, come on down, big boy. Next man coming down here, one of the most aggressive nose guards I've had in football. He enjoyed everything about football this year but practice. It took us a long time to get this guy to practice like he played. And I told him from day one, you practice as hard as you play, you can start every down on both sides of the ball and not come off unless you're dying and need a break. Mr. Teron Barnes. Football team has got a wild card. Our wild card is like a Scud missile just looking for a place to blow up. I've seen this kid come off on the sideline starry-eyed a lot more times before the concussion awareness was brought into Pop Warner. I think he's the main reason behind it. I don't know how we're going to replace him. I'm sure somebody's willing to step up and do it, but I've coached this kid a lot of years. I think of him as a son, a loving son, Mr. Justin Bennett. Next on the list, man took a year off. He's so good at football, he took a year off. Came back ready to rock and roll. We run into a few practice issues with him, just like Teron. He wanted to play the game, didn't want to do all the practice work. Once he put in his time, felt what it was like to get some rocking going on, knocking some people on their tail. He came back around, jumped into the championship scheme of things, and was a big, intricate part of this football team. Mr. Gabe Brown. Next guy coming up, this man right here will nag you and nag you and nag you. Coach, let me run the ball. Coach, Parrish has got me by 1 touchdown. I need to score a touchdown. We got a bet going. Coach Stevenson had him tugging on his shirt tails just as much as he was tugging on mine. But I'm going to tell you what, when you give him the ball, he gets the job done. He runs harder than just about anybody ever seen. He looked like a little Earl Campbell. Mr. Jordan Dorman. Wait till you see this next guy. He's sitting right up there on the top row, wearing a red hat with red shoelaces. Don't take your hat off. You've already been spotted. You old fan cam, brother. This guy right here, we've had so much fun with him in 2 years playing midget football. I'm hoping we do midgets again like we're talking right now, because he might be able to come back, and I'm going to let him run the ball this year, just so he'll step up and do what's got to be done. But he'll do what you need him to do. He's just not the fastest guy in the world. Mr. Brad Foskey. I understand our next gentleman is not here this evening. He's homesick. I've gotten word through the grapevine that he won't be here. But a lot of these guys go to school with him. A lot of you guys see him out and about. So he deserves his time just as well. They call him Pookie. And I'm going to tell you right now, this guy could be one of the fastest kids on the outside, because when he gets the ball, he gets the edge, he's scared to death, running like crazy. But if he comes back next year, I think Coach Stevenson's got his hand full, but he wants to be a quarterback. And he says he's going to be a quarterback if he plays midget football or school football, so we're going to have our hands full with this young man. Pookie, a.k.a. Nasir Gibbs. Next on the list are the most intricate parts, just like Justin Bennett. I've had the pleasure of coaching this guy for a lot of years. I coached him in Pee-wees with Coach Dukes. I coached him for a couple of years up here at Midget level. He's been a captain every year. He's one of the heart and souls of this team. He's a backbone. He steps up when needs to be stepped up. He played through a lot of injuries this year. He wouldn't tell us about a lot of them. Toe injuries. I think he wanted to be like Deion Sanders, I ain't so sure. But I couldn't ask for a better running back coming out of the backfield for hard yardage, fast yardage, big yardage, didn't matter. If he got the edge, he was gone. If he needed a yard, he'd get you two. Mr. Corey McCarron. I apologize if I'm taking too long, but I've been waiting a long time to have a session like this to be able to bring up some kids. And just a little bit over halfway through, so if you bear with me, I just want to give everybody the props. That's all. They worked hard.
13 minutes.
This next guy coming up is about the smallest. Who do I want to compare it to? AJ Hawk's not good enough. I think we'll go with Clay Matthews, even though he cut his hair off a little bit. I don't know how many people were at the Milford Championship or playoff game, but this brought you up so much. He came running off the field with his forearm right around by his spine. One of the worst broken bones I've ever seen. And the kid never batted an eyelash, never even took a sweat. He ran by me. I'm going to the official trying to figure out what's going on. He runs by me and said, "Coach, I broke my arm." And I go over to the sideline, and I look at him and I laugh, and I said, "Can we take it up?" And he looks at them and he says, "Put that clipboard around it, I'll go back in." He had to sit out on the championship game. He came back this year just for that reason, for middle school football, to play one more year at Pop Warner. He promised me he'd come back, and he did that. And he was a part of getting us where we're at, Mr. Lucas McDowell. Our next guy went last week. A lot of people don't realize, a lot of people don't understand it, but midget football is the only division that allows one special award for one person that gets singled out throughout Pop Warner. It's called the Casey Lynch Award. Casey Lynch Award is for someone with outstanding academics, great leadership, community service, community action, men in sports. It bleeds more towards stuff outside of sports. He had 2 nominations that we were willing to put in there, and we picked this guy, and he almost got it last year, truth be known. But we went over last week, and I think he got duped on the award. But in my eyes, you're my Casey Lynch Award winner, Mr. Morgan Mears. Next on the list, I don't even know where to begin to talk about this guy. His little brother was up here earlier, and he got all kinds of credit about raising his hand, wanting to do this, wanting to do that, willing to do whatever. I think the parents have raised him well. I think it runs in the family. Because this guy wanted to be a running back from a tackle to a guard. He even wanted to try quarterback until he got behind center one time. But he did whatever needed to be done. He was willing to do for whoever, whatever needed to happen. Mr. Brandon Achola. This year we were graced with something that doesn't always happen. We had a gentleman come back from high school football to play at Pop Warner because he loves the game. He wanted to play in a big game. He's a big game quarterback. He proved it time and time again. We watched him on the sidelines coming over, Coach, this play is here. I can hit this pass. This play is open. We watched him step up in the pocket when most people would just fumble, fall, whatever, get out of the way. And just a true leader on the football field. Something you don't teach, it's just there. It's instinct, it's talent, it's just natural ability. Our quarterback, Dustin Reynolds. Next man on the list, funny story. I saw this guy coming out of a Pop Warner board meeting at the Georgetown Little League, just sitting in the truck. His mom was sitting in the passenger seat, his dad was in the driver's seat. I was walking to my truck after our meeting. I walked over, I said hello. I saw him in the back, he got out, and he shook my hand. I begged him, and I begged him to come back to Pop Warner. He said, I don't know, Coach. I think I want to go to school ball. I said, Carlos, if you come back, we will win the championship. And as I'm getting ready to call his name, you realize he came back. And as these jackets these young men are going to be wearing proves, we won the championship. Mr. Carlos Serrano. This next guy he's hard to describe. He says he played football coming into the season. I'd never seen him play football. I guess he played at Sussex Tech last year as a freshman. It took him a while. He got the scheme of things, and he grew into a very, very well maintainable asset to this football team. The only thing he did that I didn't like in a game, and I still don't understand it because it wasn't a rule, but he actually jumped over a kid at Milford when we played him up there and was going down the sideline for another 10, 12 yards, got knocked out of bounds, and the referee saying that he shouldn't have jumped over the kid. That's illegal. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you got a 15-year-old kid that can hurdle another 15-year-old kid, you let him do what he's got to do. He's got a purpose in life. He's heading to the end zone. But I enjoyed watching this guy grow as a football player. He's a great asset to this team, Mr. Alex Schaff. Our next gentleman is another Sussex Tech student who was one heck of an addition. You could have seen this guy in the championship game alone. The championship game alone was a standout video for this kid that could put him in just about any college out there, because he was the nastiest fool I've seen in years. He spent more time in Smyrna's backfield than Smyrna's quarterback and running backs. Matter of fact, I think he touched the ball before 2 handoffs were made. He came in to me tonight, and I don't think his mom's going to approve of this, but he said, Coach, if we do midgets next year, I'm coming
Gavin,
back.
no. Gavin.
And I'm hoping that he's coming back. We're just going to work out some kind of schedule. Mr. Josh Hugo. Where do you go from here? We step down a few inches to one of our ringleaders and linebacker. Little baby Ray Lewis, Coach Jackson dubbed him as Papa Smurf. He led the Smurf Corps, which is our short guys. But I'll tell you what, he was about 6'8" in that championship game when Smyrna's quarterback rolled out and throw a pass to the sideline. This man jumped up, and I'll tell you right now, if this blue line is the field, I'm standing right here during that game. He jumps up right there, snags a one-handed interception against Smyrna to put the nail in the coffin. I didn't realize this man could jump so high. When you see him come down, you understand, he's only this tall, but he got heart that'll fill up this gymnasium. And I'm hoping that we get him back next year. Mr. L.T. Latrell Smith. Spencer, you ready? You know I always got something good to say about you, Spencer. This next guy, he had a couple of the biggest plays in a couple of games this year. I think he surprised himself. We would throw pass after some practice. He'd catch some of them, he'd wing his arms just like that. And I look at Coach, I said, Coach, we can't run that play. Coach said, he'll get it, don't worry. Well, he proved it more than once in game situations where he was snagging the ball coming out of the air. I think he caught one from both quarterbacks. It didn't matter if he was coming left-handed or right-handed. When the game was on the line, the situation needed to be happening. Mr. Spencer Sukar catching football. Come on down here, big man. We're almost done, folks. I just got a couple more. I'm almost to the point where I need a drink of water. Speaking of water, ain't no water buckets back here, right, Teron? Okay. This next kid coming down here, I almost don't think it's fair to call him a kid, because he's a man amongst boys when he puts on shoulder pads and a helmet. I've seen this boy do things that I didn't think a 12-year-old could do. I watched him grow into a defensive end, never playing the position. I watched him be able to go to linebacker if need be, ready to run the ball, pull left or right from guard position, knew every play out of the playbook the night after he got it. I think his dad beat it in his brain. And if you look at his dad's arm, it's not going to take too long. Keep on coming down here, big fella. You know you're next, Mr. Michael Wright. And on this note, while Michael's standing here, I would like to thank his dad for helping out on the sidelines this year. I don't have a jacket for you, I don't have a trophy for you. All I got is a heartfelt thank you for being a medical guy on the sidelines, being an inspirational leader on the sidelines, taping people up, talking to people, helping out where it needed to be. I appreciate you, I thank you, and I hope you're willing to go again this year.
Are you watching on your phone?
Last but not least, one of our outside additions. This man drove a long way every night for practice. Well, he didn't drive, his mom, sister, or whoever drove him. But he came a long way every night for practice. The school he goes to doesn't offer athletics for football. He's a SAS student. Great addition. In our eyes, we call him Rudy. You talk about big heart and a small package. You're looking at it right there in front of you in a maroon shirt, holding a jacket and a trophy for a championship. I'm hoping he comes back next year because he's got a bright future ahead of him for Sussex Central Pop Warner. Mr. Dane Zimmerman. Two people left, and this won't take too long. I got one young lady who filled in for my son when he had other things to go, like getting nachos or something like that on the sideline doing water. She helped out last year, she helped out this year. She's a great fill-in, and I'd love to see her in shoulder pads and a helmet one time. If we could talk mom and dad into that, it'd be great. Miss Bailey Purdue. Thank you, young lady. And last but not least is my addition to this organization. One I cannot wait to see him pad. I just got to keep him away from the table. He's finally going to be able to play by weight, but I'd love to get him on the Mighty Mike squad one year. This is one of my pride and joys out of my household. My little water boy, Mr. Colin Tucker. Come here, young man. Yo, up here. Have yourself a jacket, junior coach. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry I took up so much of your time. The 2012 Midlothian State Champion Midget Football Knights.